Developers are pushing ahead and building 3 of these homes. But can you see what's wrong? Buildings generally last longer than people, and it's important to get them right for multiple generations to enjoy. This isn't fast fashion. These are homes, and there's a lot on the line. To start, one of the most common mistakes I see is the lack of an entry condition. Sure, there's a door separating the indoors from the outdoors, but where is the transition sequence welcoming you into the home? Where are the functional elements like an entry closet, an entry bench, and where do you store your shoes? If you were to try and put an entry bench in this corner, you'd congest the space and the entry into the bedroom. Shoes would start to pile up and become a tripping hazard. And if you place them over here, they just clog up behind the door and cut off circulation into the hall. And this front bedroom is a little too on display from the front entry. Both of these closets have hard to access corners. So let's start by fixing these 2 bedrooms and the front entry. First, we shift the front door over and frame in this door. This carves out an entry space and aligns the front door more with the entry hall. We now have space for an entry bench where we can store shoes below, and we've added a small piece of millwork to store some outdoor clothing. There's even enough room to add a side light window to the front entry. This would bring in more natural light. In these 2 bedrooms, we demolish both of the closets and these 2 sections of wall, and we get something like this. And with a little new framing, this bedroom gets a little more breathing room, and we can shift the bed over, which creates a little more circulation space around the bed. And you can now fully access the storage in both the closets. Yes, I know there's still a little conflict behind this bedroom door, but overall the final design is much better. In this bedroom, I move the bed to the side yard wall, and this keeps a view to the entry hall and to the front deck. And lastly, in this bedroom, I'd shift the window behind the bed over. It protects the bed from anything that's behind it and creates a nice bedroom entry that looks outward to a window and nearby garden. Now let's jump across the hall. When you enter the primary bedroom, you walk into a wall, and there is a door conflict with the ensuite bathroom. These points congest both the bathroom spaces. They both need resolution. The ensuite lacks storage, and you can't just extend the vanity because there isn't enough circulation space between the shower and that space. There's also another big issue. Where is the laundry in this home? This closet isn't deep enough to house a full-size laundry machine. And in a 3-bedroom home that could easily have a couple of parents and a couple of children living in the space, that just won't do. So let's clear some things out and demo some walls. First, we'll remove the bedroom closet, this portion of wall from the hallway, and this portion of wall behind the hot water tank. And we get something like this. Now, if we add some new framing, the closet and bed shift down, and we fill in the old bedroom door opening. We can move the hot water tank to the opposite side of the closet, and if we clean up this line work, we get a new layout like this. And when we fill it in, we create a bathroom with more storage around the vanity and a closet space that's deep enough for a full-size washer and dryer. And if we're strategic about the placement of the sink, this bathroom door can either open onto the vanity storage, or we can remove this swing-style door and replace it with a pocket door. And because we've aligned these 2 openings, we create a new design condition that if both doors are left open, we can create a view to the outdoors and a new nearby garden. We just need to shift this window down, just like that. This redesign in the ensuite is a little more considered. The vanity is tucked away into this nook to hide toothbrushes and other messes, while we take advantage of the expansive view. The toilet is nested in its own little corner for privacy, and the builder-grade shower insert keeps us on budget. Now sure, if the bathroom door is closed, you're entering into a small hallway. But this is the same condition as before, and now the plan has the ability to be more open. In the hallway, we need to adjust these 2 doors so that we can access the entire laundry machine. So we could slide them down, but there is another problem. When the doors are fully open, they cut off circulation in the hall. So let's get rid of the swinging doors and add some sliding doors. They keep the narrow hall open when doing laundry or servicing the hot water tank. Now we still need to fix this tight space in the main bathroom, so we can rotate the toilet and the vanity 90 degrees. And if we shift the window down, there's now more vanity storage and an outdoor view when you're brushing your teeth. We've also increased the circulation space between the corner of the shower and the vanity. And finally, let's critique the main living space. In the kitchen, the fridge is tucked right against this wall. And depending on the type of fridge you get, it may be problematic opening the door. I've seen it happen numerous times. The fridge door doesn't fully open, and you're unable to slide the inner cabinets out. Also, the fridge that's shown is an apartment-style fridge that's 24 inches wide or 60 centimeters. We've already addressed the potential for a family of 4 living in the space, so we should have normal-sized fridges to store enough food for an entire family. Now this dining table, It needs 3 feet or 90 centimeters of clearance from the edge of the table to the nearest surface. And in higher traffic areas, like between the island, we need even a little more space. Chairs will feel tight and congested against the sofa and the bar stools. And if you haven't noticed, there's a flooring change between the living room and dining space, and the chairs at the dining table will always be catching on that transition. And this island overhang is only about 12 inches or 30 centimeters. Now this is a minimum you see in a lot of homes, but it's really not deep enough. When you sit at the counter, adults will often hit their knees against the back of the cabinets. So for these overhangs to be comfortable, you really want to have 14 to 16 inches of overhang, or 35 to 40 centimeters. Both of these living room sofas are on the small side, and they're more representative of apartment-style furniture. And this is a 3-bedroom home for a potential family of 4. Remember? This size of sofa is tight when the average height adult tries to lay down. And there's this arbitrary circulation space around the back of the sofa. It's not really usable because this space near the wall is even tighter. And overall, I think too much of this design is dedicated to circulation. Everything feels cramped, and it makes the space feel small. So to fix this space, let's start by clearing out the kitchen and identifying 2 critical paths of circulation. There's this path in front of the sofa, and this path from the hall. These 2 paths of circulation help identify the space we have available to program, and with that information, we can lay out a new kitchen, just like this. And if we shift the dining table over, like this, we get a much more open cooking and dining space. Now I've eliminated the dual seating from the island because this space is better suited without it. And we can do something special with this dining table. I'll explore that in a moment. But for now, the new kitchen layout utilizes these tall cabinets which add a lot of storage. And in the design, they can become a focal point. And in this design, we can easily increase the size of the fridge to a full-size family unit. We can elevate the design further by embracing this path of circulation. If we add a window here and slide this window down, like this, we get open views to the outdoors on that path of circulation. Now, clutter is something that makes all spaces feel small, so we can elevate the design further by considering what's going to be on the counter spaces. We can change out these tall cabinets for a built-in nook that houses our toaster and coffee machine. Screening these from regular view helps make the space feel cleaner and more open. And while we're aligning things, let's create some alignment with the entry hall and the kitchen. We shift both the windows over, and if we center the dining table on this section of wall, like this, we give it a place of natural alignment in the space to anchor it in an otherwise open floor plan. We get better views and connections to the outdoors when we're sitting at the table, and we create alignment from the front entry all the way through the home to a back garden. Now let's talk about this dining table. Before we had a kitchen island with more prep area and a breakfast bar for casual seating. So if we increase the size of the dining table, like this, we can now comfortably seat 6 people on a regular basis. And if we pull the table away from the wall, we can comfortably seat 8 people for larger meals. And if we change out these 3 seats on the kitchen side for a long bench like this, we can tuck that bench away and use the table as our island for additional prep area. We've kept all the luxury elements of the original design, but we've made the space feel more open and less cluttered. We've done this by condensing the island and dining table into one space. This removed duplicate eating areas and seating areas that were just too much for this small space. Next, if we move the flooring transition in the living room over and we align it with the hall, the living room space feels larger and we've created more room for regular sized furniture and more furniture options. We've taken a plan like this that had all these issues and turned it into this, where each space has better connection to the outdoors, more privacy, more storage, and the whole home just feels more open. But you be the judge. Did I make this plan better or worse? Let me know in the comments below.